Okay, so we're resuming where we left off. We want to try and find the entire row or maybe just the title of the book that has the longest page count. So we can find the page count, it's 634, but of course, let's say we don't know the number, because if we know it's 634, I could just write a query that says, select star from books where pages equals 634, but that defeats the purpose. We see the answer here, but I want to know. If I don't know the number exactly, I have 10,000 plus books, how do I retrieve the entire row or just the title of that book? So there's a couple of options, and one of those options is to use order by, which we already know. We can order by pages and then limit. So let's just do title and pages from books, order by, and then pages. And then let's do descending, DESC. Okay, so we're going from highest pages down to lowest pages. And then I would just limit it to 1. And there we are. We found the whole row, or in this case, just the title and pages, but we have access to whatever we want of the book that has the highest number of pages. That is one option. So here's that in the slides. The second option I'll show you is quite a bit different. It involves using something called a subquery, which is really the main focus of this video. I want to show you that we can do subqueries. So a subquery is what it sounds like. It's a query within a larger query. We surround it with parentheses. And this tells MySQL, run this first. That will be evaluated to some, in this case, some number. And then this query will run. So let's try it. Let's try writing it out. Let's do a select title, comma pages from books. And then I'm going to say where pages equals, but I don't know what it's going to be equal to. I mean, I know it's 634, but that's cheating. I'm going to say where pages equals the result of running select. And I'm going to get an error immediately because at least in this, SQL Workbench, I get some nice little error checking as I'm typing, some syntax checking. It says you can't have select right there. But if I surround it with parentheses, it'll shut up eventually. And it's complaining I don't have a semicolon. But it's totally happy now because I have those parens. It is a valid query. It's a subquery within the main query. But otherwise, I can't just go writing select if I don't have parens. Those are very important. Okay, so select, and then I want to find the max of pages from books. And this will run first. That's going to be replaced eventually with 634. And then this query is very straightforward, pretty simple. Let's try running it. I'll just run it over here. And we get the same exact answer. The Amazing Adventures of Kavalier and Clay. Okay. So does that mean that these are identical solutions? Not really. They both work if we know for sure that there is only one maximum, meaning that there's only one row that has 634 pages. But let's say that I have a second one in there. Insert into books. Let's see. Let's go with author. Actually, let's just keep it simple. Title and pages. And title here is going to be My Life in Words. And the number of pages is going to be 634. So now we have a duplicate of at least the number of pages. There's 2 books with that number of pages. And if I try my subquery solution, this one here, we'll get both of them, which is great. Maybe that's what we want. We get both of them because all that we said is find all of the books where pages is equal to 634. And if we ran that ourselves, we would get multiple rows. Just like if I said find all the books that were released in 2001. If there's multiple, we get multiple. We're not limiting it. But with the other solution involving order by and limit, of course, we only get 1 because we set the limit to 1. And yes, I could set the limit to 2, but that requires me knowing that there's more than one matching row that has that number of pages. Otherwise, if I had run this a couple minutes ago, I would see 634 and then some other smaller number of pages for whatever the runner-up book is. So there is a difference. But if we're just looking for one, we know there's one, then you don't need to bother with a subquery necessarily. But it's good to know that there is a subtle difference between how they will work. Okay, so just to recap, subqueries, let's try one more example. Why don't we find the title of the book that was released earliest? So that would involve, we could do this, select, and then we can find the minimum released year. We already saw this. I think it's 1945 from books. Put that in there. There it is. And then what I can do is make a subquery that says select the title. And let's also do released year so we can see it from books. And then where released year is equal to this subquery, which will run first and evaluate to 1945 with our current data set, or some other year if you have different years in yours. But this will be replaced, and then this query runs with that new value. Let's check it out. And we see Cannery Row 1945. All right, so that's another example of a subquery. In this case, we used min instead of max, but the concept there is just a query will run first, the subquery runs first, and then that evaluates to something, and the rest of the query runs. Remember, you have to use parens around any sort of subquery. All right.